Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. Okay, let's start the video. Hi, my name is Gabby and welcome back to Gab and Gabs. It's been a hot minute, so let's have a little chit chat before we continue on with the video. First of all, hi, I've missed you all. Second, I technically have already filmed this video before, but I was very dramatic and during filming I walked off set. I don't really know how to explain it other than it was hot and I was aggravated. I'm telling you, I'm not the best person during the summer, so it is a relief that it is literally considered fall. But number 3, I live in a place where even though it's technically fall, it's still pushing 100 degrees during the day, which is tragic, terrible, and I hate global warming. But eventually it will cool down and I will be a better person and I will look cuter and I will feel better about myself. So we'll eventually get there, but not quite yet, but almost there. And lastly, I was a little hesitant about filming this particular video, and this is why I waited so long to do the end of summer book haul, because online there was a lot of conversations about consumerism and, you know, showing off all the books. And I understand that, you know, showing a lot of books is kind of like, can look like, oh, you're showing off. But I'm showing you these books because I'm really happy and you can see what's on my TBR and what I'll be reading in the future. But also, I get gifted a lot of books because I love books. I ask for books when people are wanting to give me gifts. That's what I usually ask for. But also, I'm pretty thrifty when it comes to my book buying, and you know, I'm very selective, and I really research about how to buy books in the best way, and I don't buy a lot of new releases. I've said that before. I'm a backlist reader. I do have a few new titles in here that were gifted to me, but I don't normally buy new releases as well, so that does help save on price. But I will do a whole dedicated video about how I purchase books. And is there anything else left to say? Oh yeah, my hair is a different color. You know, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else left to say. This is going to be a very long video, so I suggest watching this video when you're eating like a lunch or dinner, or you're like crying yourself to sleep at night, usually me. You know, just have a lot of time on your hands and you want to hear someone talking constantly, this is probably the video for you. Just keeping that advice beforehand. So grab a snack, grab a drink, and let's do this thing. Oh, and last, I will be revealing which books you have chosen for me to read in the month of October. So you'll have to wait to the end, or you can just literally scroll to the end of the video and you'll find out if you don't want to like watch this whole video. You know, you have your own journey, I have my own journey, so who's to say which one is correct? Okay, let's start. Okay, so I don't know if you guys have watched my previous wrap-up videos, my first ever one on the channel. I'll try to link it somewhere. But I showed you my edition of The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. It is a Barnes & Noble exclusive leatherback edition. They are only $10 at Barnes & Noble, but I think they're some of the most beautiful books I've ever seen. I love their editions, and this summer I actually got floating bookcases, so I'm able to display these books now. And I've decided now that I want every single one. So eventually I would like to collect every single edition of these books that they have. So I was able to purchase one, but my lovely significant other did purchase some for our anniversary, and then just one because he was a very nice human. So I'm going to show those off now. So the one that I bought, and I showed in my previous video, which, spoiler alert, you did not choose for me to read for October, is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and Other Stories by Robert Louis Stevenson. This is a short story collection of Stevenson's works. I bought this particularly for the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story because I've never read it, but it seems like it has a lot of cool stories in here, so I'll be interested to read this at a certain time. But this edition I think is beautiful. For one, I love this like potion-y bottle because it's also on the spine. I mean, Is it a vial? It's not a potion. It's like a vial, but I just think the spine looks amazing. Cool quote. It's also sprayed edges. It's like a light brown. No, actually this is a dark brown, sorry. It's actually dark brown. I don't know if you can tell. This is dark brown, but it's absolutely beautiful. And of course they all come with like a ribbon. This one's a gold one, but so pretty. I love this one. And then the rest I were gifted. So the next is Sherlock Holmes Classic Stories by Arthur Conan Doyle. This is a light tan, and the spine, I like it because it has a magnifying glass and it has Sherlock Holmes' initials in it. I've only read, I think, one Sherlock Holmes story, and that was in, I want to say middle school, so it's been a long time. Of course, Sherlock Holmes is the story of the famous detective. I love the Sherlock Holmes movies. I love Sherlock Holmes and everything, so I'm really surprised at myself that I've never gravitated to like pick up any of his stories and read them, but now is the time. This definitely is fall vibes, like something about like a mystery detective just screams that. This particular edition has green sprayed edges, which I like. I know some people will think that's kind of like tacky looking, but I kind of like the combination here. This one also comes with like a very light blue ribbon. Here's a quote on the back, but really pretty. I really just love these particular editions. The Odyssey by Homer. I have read this, of course, but it's been such a long time. This is about a man who is trying to get back to his wife, and he has a lot of like encounters and adventures along the way, and his wife is like I think she's on an island, and there's like a bunch of suitors like wanting to get with her, and she has to resist. Also, another beautiful edition. This one is blue, and on the side here, as you can see, the ship and the waves. It's a beautiful color. Lightning bolt. This one's like a turquoisey, like I would say even like Tiffany blue. I don't know if the camera can pick it up very well. Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass by Lewis Carroll. Crazy enough, I've actually never read Alice in Wonderland or Through the Looking Glass. I think I wanted to and I just never did. This edition also is like a light Tiffany blue sprayed edge. This is about a young girl who goes in a rabbit hole and she gets transported to Wonderland. So it obviously seems up my alley. This gives me springtime vibes, but I will say this edition is absolutely beautiful. Has the drink me bottle. The back of it's beautiful. Inside has this color, but yeah. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I'm a little embarrassed to say that I actually have almost finished this book, but I never did. I had to read this for my AP literature class in high school, and I was just so exhausted and I didn't like that class that I just was like, forget it, I'm not going to read the rest, and I just spark noted the rest. So I really don't know exactly how it ends. This is the classic tale of Victor Frankenstein, who creates this monster, but of course he figures out that probably wasn't a good idea. So I really like the concept of the story, and I've been wanting to revisit it and actually say that I finished this book. So I was really glad when he bought me this edition. I think it's so cool because it has like the castle, the lightning bolts. I just think this edition is absolutely stunning. Red painted edges. Same thing, the spine has the lightning bolts in the house. It's just beautiful. There's nothing more to say about it. Classic that he gifted me is Dracula by Bram Stoker. I have always wanted to read this, but I think I was intimidated by this for the size, and second because I've heard that this is a slower read. This is about the original vampire Dracula and Van Helsing, who is trying to track him down. There's other things obviously involved in this. I don't really know the whole tale of Dracula, but I've always been intrigued. I always feel like I should read this one, but this edition makes me want to pick it up more, I guess, if that makes sense. So thank you, and those are all of the classics, but I'm excited because now I can display them and they look so good on the shelves. I have them obviously with Dorian Gray, and they're great, and they're a good price, honestly, for how they look, and I think so. So Barnes & Noble. I actually got 100 subscribers in the summertime, which is pretty rad. So my friend Chelsea, I'm going to be linking her channel below, but she's fabulous. She's taking a hiatus right now, but she will return, and when she does, she's going to come back with a vengeance. We did this thing where when we each reached 100, we sent each other a book to commemorate that, and she gifted me The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. yeah, she's thick, she's big, but I have been wanting to read this for a very long time. I don't think I ever talk about it too much, but I'm a person that likes to read really long books at the end of the year. I choose one long book to read, and that takes me into usually the next year. And I think this will probably be the book that I choose. This is about a boy who loses his mother in a fire accident in a museum. And there's this portrait called The Goldfinch that I believe he tries to steal and get back, and it has to do with her death. I tried to watch the film on Amazon 3 times and have been unsuccessful each time, but I just think this is a mood read. This is a book that is more serious. Same thing with the film, but I do want to read this, I think, before I tackle the film. So yes, I think this might be the end of year one, but I think this is a good book to commemorate the 100th. So thank you, Chelsea. You're a gem. Actually, a very small children's classic that my book club, the Ready or Not book club, is reading for the month of October, and that is Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. This is a classic. I feel like a lot of people have read this during childhood. I never did. This is about a girl who discovers the Tucks, and they have everlasting life. I watched the film recently at the beginning of summer with my parents, and the film held up. I think also I just have a thing for like Alexis Bledel, like because of Gilmore Girls, that I just like loved her. So yeah, for our book club, we'll be watching the movie and reading the book. That way we can discuss both since it's very small. But I think this is gonna be good. I'm gonna take a sip here. Are you having fun? I'm having fun. It's nice to like look at all the books and smile at them. Chelsea is also a great friend, and she also sent me this book, and this is a new release that I really wanted, and she was like, here you go. And that's Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I don't normally read this type of book, but something in me said, please read. This is about the 1950s in Mexico, and it's a woman whose cousin marries an Englishman, and they have a big house in Mexico, and the cousin writes to her and is like, hey, please come visit me, some sketchy things are happening in this house, help me. And she goes. What's interesting about this particular book is a lot of people in my real life who don't normally read are picking this book up. I think it's just interesting. I like Gothic literature, so that's why I was gravitated toward this. I know there are some horror elements which made me a little scared, but people in my real life said it's not so scary, so that's why I was like, yes. So thank you, Chelsea. I want to read this sooner rather than later. But also, what a beautiful cover. The cover is beautiful, amazing, spectacular. And another gift from Chelsea, With a Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is embarrassing to admit, but I've never read an Elizabeth Acevedo book before. I know. The reason being is not because I never wanted to. I am afraid of poetry. Poetry is just not my jam. I don't read poetry in my everyday life. I have a hard time with it. So I know that her other books, Clap When You Land and The Poet X, are written in verse, so it made me kind of weary. But I'm really glad I have this one because this is just written as a normal novel, and this sounded the most intriguing to me. This is about a teen mom who loves to cook, and I think she gets into a program to help her with that. But I think this is great. I can't cook to save my life, but I love cooking and learning about it and seeing other people's passion about it. But also this cover, she is gorgeous. This is gorgeous. But also when you take the dust jacket off, get ready for it. Get ready. I mean, are you serious? That's so pretty. It's just stunning. It's absolutely stunning. So I recommend if you're able to get your hands on the hardcover. But I love this. This is so pretty. So thank you, Chelsea. You knew what I needed in my life, and I needed that book. The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. This may sound familiar because this was made into a movie, probably the mid-2000s, with Rachel McAdams and Eric Bana. I didn't love the movie because of Eric Bana. I just don't really like him as an actor. I don't know why, something about him, I'm just not a fan. But this is about a woman who encounters a time-traveling man throughout her entire life. Eventually she does marry him, but the marriage isn't as great as it seems because he literally is traveling in and out of her entire life. So she's thick. I couldn't believe how this is a 500-page book. Oh, 534 pages. Now I know it doesn't seem like a lot, but that's kind of a lot. I did not know this was so long, but here we are. I have to be in the mood to read this, but I know I've always wanted to read it, and I think that it's very interesting to read about a woman with a husband that time travels, and from her perspective. I think we always get it from the guy, the time travelers, but I like it that it's from the wife's perspective. So eventually, one day, we'll read this. Okay, you knew it was coming, so let's discuss this. My lovely significant other, as part of our anniversary, did also purchase this for me. A link below down to support the Koliet tribe. If you purchase Midnight Sun, I kind of think that it's important that you do that, but yes, here I have Midnight Sun in my possession. Thank you to my significant other. If you don't know, I'm actually rereading the entire Twilight saga. I've actually only read up to Eclipse. I did read some of Breaking Dawn, but I never finished it. I never finished the novella, and I never read The Life and Death, which is the gender-bent version of Twilight. If you don't know, this is the Twilight book that's from Edward's perspective, and she's chunky. Look, I don't know what to expect because I have read, I'm up to Eclipse now. And so far, Edward's just not it for me. Reading it now. I'm more of a Team Jacob, so I don't know how I'm going to deal with this entire book being solely from Edward's perspective. It might anger me, but you know, we'll see. But this was one of my most anticipated because nostalgia. But yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get to it. Maybe by the end of the year, but I don't know. I'm kind of reading the Twilight books kind of slowly. It's taking longer than anticipated, so we'll see. But yeah, thank you to my person. Okay, let's keep going. Very excited to find this edition while I was thrifting. I normally don't like these movie tie-in editions. However, this is one of my favorite films of all time, and I wanted this particular cover versus the actual book cover. I like this one better. And that is The Silver Linings Playbook by Matthew Quick. If you don't know, this book is about a man who is just released from a mental rehabilitation center. He is trying, in his mind, he is trying to get better, to get back with his wife. And he encounters this woman named Tiffany, who is a widow, and both of them kind of try to help each other. Like I said, one of my favorite films of all time. She won the Oscar for her role here, but it's just really well acted, so I've always wanted to read the book, and when I found this, I had to pick it up. Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ning. Chelsea, of course, also sent this to me. I think it's funny because I sent her Little Fires Everywhere, which was one of my favorite books of the year, and she hated that book, but yet she sent me this book, so she's so sweet. This is about I think it's a Chinese American family who loses their daughter, and it's kind of like, I don't know too much about that. I just know that they lose a daughter, and I think it goes through two perspectives of them trying to deal with the loss and also like what led up to that. If it's anything like Little Fires Everywhere, I'm gonna love it. I loved her writing in that so much that I just know I'm gonna like this one. So I'm glad to have it in my possession. I've been wanting to read this, and now I have it, so I have no excuse. It is what it is. Okay, another book that I've been wanting to read for a very long time. Chelsea and I did like an October spook box, meaning like we did the same thing like the mystery box, where we bought books that were out of our comfort zone, books that we're afraid of, and then like a random book off our Amazon wish list. And this was the random book off my Amazon wish list, which is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I had checked this out at the library and I never got around to reading it. This is about a young girl who goes to a boarding school where there's an unsolved murder mystery, and the girl tries to solve it, and it goes through dual perspectives. I like that. That sounded intriguing to me, and I'm all about a mystery. I think Chelsea's been choosing mysteries for me, and I like the vibe. It makes me want to read a mystery. This will definitely, I feel like, be a November read. I just feel it in my bones. This is going to happen in November, but I'm so happy that she got this for me. I've been wanting to read it, and I'm glad I now can. Memoirs of a Geisha by Arthur Golden. I found this while thrifting. I have always contemplated on whether or not I wanted to read this book. I did love the film with growing up with me and my mom. We used to watch it all the time. However, when I've learned the history of this, I'm just like, I don't know if I actually want to read it. But since I saw it thrifting and I saw it for a good price, I was like, okay, I'm not I guess, like, technically supporting the author, like, in that aspect, so I was like, okay. But this is about a young girl who's sold to a geisha house, and eventually when she becomes older, she gets sponsored, I guess is the best way, to become a geisha, and it follows her journey there. This next book is actually going to be for my November book club pick. We kind of vote like 2 months in advance, or like a month in advance for the next book, so we have decided on this particular book, and that is The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. I watched the movie and I loved the movie. It was like an actual surprise to me about how good it was. This is about a young couple in 1920s Australia who are unable to have their own child. They are isolated because he is a lighthouse keeper. One day, a boat washes ashore and a man is dead in it, but the baby is alive. So they decide not to report the man being dead and the baby, and they keep the baby as their own. Obviously, consequences. Everything by Nicola Yoon. This is about a young girl who has an autoimmune disease and she's unable to leave her house. So she meets a neighbor one day that like maybe makes her want to take a risk. I've seen the film. I know what happens and I know the twist in it. But I do seem to like Nicola Yoon's like stories, and I've watched both of the films, but I've never read any of her books. But I'm intrigued to see how it's told through story form. Yeah, okay, that's it. But I think this cover is also really pretty. The next is another pick from Chelsea. Chelsea just is like literally every book that I have here. This was our bonus book from the October book box, and it is Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. I think she's insane because she knows me better than I know myself, because I had been researching this particular book because I was thinking about reading it, and then she bought it for me. This is about a woman whose brother killed her entire family. He's in jail. It's a really known case. And when she's a woman, she gets called upon by this group of people who believe her brother's innocent. So she goes back and kind of tries to discover what really happened all those years ago. This was made into a movie with Charlize Theron. It didn't do really well, so you probably didn't hear about the movie, but I wanted to watch the movie, but I was like, I should read the book first, and Chelsea made it come through. So yeah, I have a hard time with Gillian Flynn books. They're like hard for me to get through, but I think her stories are so intriguing, the way like she comes up with all these plots and twists. So I have to be in the mood to read this, but I do want to read this. This is the most intriguing to me out of her 3. I think she's only written 3 books that I know of. House of Sand and Fog by Andre Debus III. This was on Oprah's book club originally when she first had it out. This is about 2 people fighting over a house. A young woman who has literally nothing left in her life but this house, and then a man who immigrated from Iran and has he basically is now a taxi driver in the US, but he was a colonel in his country, so he kind of feels like he doesn't have, his stature that he once had, and so this house would give him all of that back. So it's a fight for this house. There was a movie made, and I watched it many, many years ago. Probably was too young to watch it, and I don't remember too much of the plot. However, I just think this plot is interesting, and it's going to be hard-hitting, and I know it's tragic. So I have to be in the mental mindset to handle it. But I don't hear many people talk about it. I know it was popular many years ago, but I watched Parks and Rec this summer for the second time ever, and I loved it. I literally filmed a video after it, and I was just sad because I was sad that it was over. So I've been collecting everyone's memoirs that was on the show. I have Retta's, but I was able to find Stories I Only Tell My Friends by Rob Lowe. If you don't know the history of Rob Lowe, he was like one of the most popular actors back in the 80s. He was in the Brat Pack, which had like Molly Ringwald and basically everyone in the Breakfast Club. So in this memoir, he's actually telling those stories from the time that he was in the Brat Pack and when he was the most popular and like his partying days and everything. He's really changed his life from like when he was younger. So I'm interested to kind of read those stories and how his life kind of transformed and like his career and everything. So Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. I don't have a lot of Christmassy books, and I remember this movie was on Netflix last year. It premiered, and I thought it was cute. But it's just a holiday romance, 3 different stories that kind of combine into one. I don't have any Christmas books, and I saw this, and I was like, sure. And there's nothing more to say about it. The Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood by Rebecca Wells. So, another book. Have you realized that the theme is that I watched the movie during the summer and then I went to go find the book? Because this is another instance of that. I watched this with my parents, and it's about a young woman who has a very strained relationship with her mother. She's from the South, and her mother's best friends kind of kidnap her and kind of relay her mother's story just so that she better understands what happened to the mom and why things are the way that they are. But yeah, I really liked it. This to me is a summer read, so I think I've already missed the boat here. But when it comes back around, I do want to pick up again and read. So yes, is The Shack by W.M. Paul Young. This is the 10th anniversary edition. I found this on Barnes & Noble clearance, so I was like, sure. All I know is that these parents have a daughter and the daughter dies, and then something happens in a shack. I feel like people were talking about this a long time ago, and I never got on the hype train. There was a movie made about it. Never watched the movie, but I saw it and I was like, it had like snow and cabin. It gave me winter vibes, and I figured maybe I'll read this during the winter time. Yep, that was literally what I thought. That was the whole thought process. The next is The Book of Lost Things by John Connolly. I can tell you absolutely nothing about this book. This was an absolute cover buy. I bought this on Mercari. That was a whole obstacle, let me tell you. Like, I don't know if I'll ever buy a book off Mercari again because of this experience. So I kind of have a little bit of strange feelings about this book because of that experience. But all I know is that there's a young boy who's reading a book, and I think he gets sucked into the book. Kind of like Neverending Story, but also not. But I just bought it because of the cover. It looks cool, and it's an adult fantasy, but it's a standalone, which is also not what I read in general. So I don't know why I bought this. Chelsea chose this one for me again, and this is a book out of my comfort zone, and that is The Southern Guide. The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This is set in the 90s, and it is about a woman who has a book club, and I believe a vampire attacks one of the members of the book club, and the book club investigates it. I wanted to read this because it seemed up my alley, because it seemed kind of... It's out of my comfort zone because I don't read books like this. However, I think I'd watch a movie like this, if that makes sense, because it doesn't seem like truly based in horror. It's a little campy, but also not. I don't know what I'm saying, but this book is beautiful. How it looks is absolutely stunning. So a reason why I wanted to have this in general. So Chelsea, good job. This is a good pick. I promise one day this will be over. If We Were Villains by ML Rio. This is the book I bought for myself when I reached my 1-year anniversary in August. I wanted this edition for the cover and the deckled edges. This is about a man who finally is released from prison, and he kind of tells his tale of what happened and why he got to jail and why he's actually innocent. Okay, I found it. So this is the very last book I have to show for you guys today. We did it. What a journey this was. I hope you found a lot of books that you're kind of interested in, or like you've read some and you can tell me, because they're basically all backlist books. And that is The Deep by Alma Katsu. This was yet again gifted by Chelsea for our October book box, and this one is the book I'm afraid of. And she's absolutely right. I'm terrified by this book because this is straight up horror. There is no like, oh, it like can kind of be like skewed. No, this is horror. This is about the Titanic and ghost. I have nothing more to say. It's beautiful. It's stunning. Look at that. But like, am I excited to read it? I don't know if excited is the right word. I will conquer it. I'm gonna go through a fear. But also the guy from Bird Box blurbed it, so I already know like it's gonna scare me a little bit. Nothing more to say on that. Those are all the books. Pretty cool list, right? I look, I think there's some good books in there. Will I read them all by the end of the year? That's obviously not. Let's not fool ourselves. But like I said, a lot of these are backlist books, so I can't wait for you to tell me which ones I should like prioritize. But let's get to the books you would like me to read in October. So, like I said, my book club is doing Tuck Everlasting. But in my previous video, I said for you to choose, you know, as a celebration for 1 year, 2 books that I had shown you that were like kind of October vibes, and I would prioritize and I would read those for the month of October. So you didn't choose Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but you did choose number 1, and I should have seen this coming. You chose Dracula by Bram Stoker. I'm a little scared. I'm not gonna lie to you. But I mean, if there's never gonna be a better time to read this than the month of October, and we're still in a pandemic, so what else am I gonna do? So yes, I will be reading this. The next that I'll be reading that you guys have chosen is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. I am excited. I think I'm gonna tackle this one first, and you would probably think, like, why not read the bigger book first? Because I want to read this book first. I have been wanting to read this for a while. I think this is a good, I don't know what to say, but I'm just intrigued. I haven't read a book with pictures in a long time, so I think that's why I'm excited to read this one. And I heard the movie was phenomenal. So yeah, these are the picks that you've chosen for me. So yeah, and then I will let you know how it goes in my next wrap up. Like I said, I'll be doing like a huge wrap up of a lot of books I've read recently, because I have to also talk about the books I read for Yonsathon, which, if you did participate in that, thank you. It was really fun to co-host that. That was a fun time, a crazy time, but a wonderful time. And that's it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you had a good time. Like I said, in the comments below, let me know which books I should prioritize out of the ones I have, and which ones are absolute trash. And I'll see you in the next video. And it was nice to talk to you. I'll see you in the next video.